Ooh, boa noite, y'all. Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I've been doing a lot of talking today. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are all doing well. Um, Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening or good night for whoever you are, wherever you are in the world. It's night for me. It's probably evening for those of you joining on the East Coast, and a little bit afternoonish, early afternoon for the West Coast, and then early morning for the rest of the world. Hey, 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 how y'all doing? It's a Thursday. Hey. Rebloom Room is right on time and first in the comments. Hey, 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 how you doing? And Anya, how are you? Hey, 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 how are you? The Howards in the house. We were partying last Saturday. Yes. Let's see, is that J or is that an L? Let's see. J Liriano. Meetings. It's late for me, and I'm realizing that my eyes are telling me that I might be getting a little older. So I gotta squint a little bit. Maureen. Bonsoir. Bonne nuit. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yes. Because every day I leave this house, I start speaking something. Marguerite is here. Another one of us that was partying like rock stars on last Saturday. Hey, Jess is here. How you doing, Jess? Let me see. Okay, there we go. Jess. Hey, everyone. Hey, good to see you. I have a little something in my mouth because those of you who know I get dry mouth, so I don't want to have a whole coughing fit. So it's good to see you all on a Thursday. This is now my new time slot. Kay Renee's in the house. Hey, hey, hey. So y'all know I always start off with a little like what's going on in Portugal, what's going on with Blaxit Global. So last Saturday, we got together and had a freedom party. We went to Setúbal, Portugal. Some of our guests are in the comments right now, and we had a ball. I know some of y'all probably haven't seen the video, but go on the channel, not right now, but go on the channel and you'll see a video from the weekend. It's also posted on our Instagram page. Let me tell you, it was awesome. Of course, I'm biased because I threw the party, but it was a way to celebrate our 11 members and their families that made the move to Portugal this year. That is a tremendous feat. And we also had a member that moved to Thailand. So, with that, we also have a member that is actually en route. We have a little bit of bad weather today, so their flight got a little delayed, but the next class is already assembling. So, we have our members that moved so far this year. We have several members that are still going to make it before the end of the year. And then some more in the heels of that. So, if moving to Portugal is calling on your heart or you're curious about moving to Portugal, this is the time because you're going to have built in community, right? We all got together, our Black Utopia, the Howards, Marguerite. There was 16 of us in total. And Rum and Tickles did his thing. Oh my gosh. The food was amazing. The rum punch was punching. um, it was so much fun. And it was a time to celebrate our freedom. And the reason why it was important was one, when you're in it, you don't even realize how far you've come. You're trying to get, things sold or moved or what have you, and you're just in the trenches. And it's nice to take a look and say, wow, you know what? I did that. I did what most people haven't or think is impossible, that you had the sense of accomplishment. And even better to be celebrated and affirmed with people who are on the journey or have done it too. So I'm grateful for everyone that came out. We had previous guests on the Blaxit Global podcast come out, as well as our new members. It was a love fest, y'all. So watch the video for sure. Um, and Marguerite said, yes, it was awesome. Thank you. Oh, and K Renee is thank you, K Renee. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Help us grow and reach more people. Disabled Diva is in the house. Disabled Diva Travels was also a guest on the Blaxit Global podcast and also a speaker at Exodus Summit, might I add, and rocked it. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yep, Maureen, you have to join us. We are going to have another freedom party, probably in the spring. We're going to have the freedom party probably in the spring because there's a lot of people coming. Like I said, in this new class that's coming, and I'm really excited about that. On that thread of moving to Portugal, like I said, a lot of things are changing. Some of you probably have seen that the NHR might, I say might because nothing is etched in stone, might be going away. So for those of you who are thinking about moving to Portugal, this is the time. And guess what? Coincidentally, I, along with our friends, our Black Utopia, are co-hosting the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit. Ha ha ha. It's your one-stop shop to find out about moving to Portugal. So we're going to have immigration attorneys, business attorneys, tax professionals, both on the US and Portugal side, real estate professionals. We're going to have Black expats talking about their experiences in different parts of the country. We're going to have a session on schools, right? For those of you who are bringing littles and need to enroll them in schools. We're going to have Libria Jones, the queen of remote work. So, hey, for those of you who are like, I want to move, but what's up with this job? Got you. She's going to be there with her brilliance and share all of that. You'll have Rick and Halisi and me. And also want to thank and shout out our sponsors, SGP and Associates, Lighthouse Consulting, as well as Serenity. We're also going to be talking about healthcare, which is why that is really important. Speaking of healthcare, I was at the dentist again. I go to the dentist now. It seems like on a weekly basis, but oh my goodness, this dentist is amazing. And I've been having these jaw issues or whatever, and I thought when I left the States and had a consult, it was going to be a lot of money, and they were talking about surgery. And I went today and saw the jaw specialist, and he said, you don't need surgery. What? He said, you need physical therapy. So next week I'm going back, physical therapy, and it's not going to break the bank. Why? Because I live in a country that prioritizes healthcare. The actual word, health care, not sick care. Let's keep you going to the doctor and tell you to run tests and then send you mystery bills because you don't know what it costs at the point of service. So I digress. But yes, for those of you who are interested, I'm going to drop the link to the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit in there. So you have that. Also, want to let you know that I am hosting a house in Portugal along with Amber Edwards. We are doing the Blaxit Global Lit House. So for those of you who are interested in scouting Portugal, seems like it's having a little trouble with my connection, but if you're having any trouble, if you are looking to scout Portugal and you want some assistance, someone to hold your hand, to be your hostess with the mostest, you want to join us at the Blaxit Global Lit House. It is called Nomad Noir. So it is going to be in August of 2024. Get your room because you will have your own room, your own bathroom. It's a 14-bedroom house. Everybody has their own room. I have 7 rooms, well, now 6 because one of them is gone. So if you are interested in getting all the tea about, acclimating to Portugal, right? As someone who is a foreigner and, where to shop, where to get your, where is Seth and all of that stuff, you definitely want to sign up for the Lit House, Nomad Noir. So that was it for the big announcements. Oh, probably forgot to mention one thing because I know y'all already are good like that in the comments. Let me go back. Let's see. Where is it? Anya. Anya said, Anya, you're good. You're on top of it. Anya heard me and Juanita Ingram and Tiara, excuse me, on Tavis Smiley. Yes. Yes, that happened today. That happened 2.5 hours ago, which is why I'm sucking on this because I've been doing a lot of talking today. Um, so yes, I was on Tavis Smiley. We were on Tavis Smiley today, and that was coming off of the LA Times article last week about why Black people are leaving the US. You know, it's my favorite topic. So yeah, we talked about it, gave our perspective, our own experiences. Definitely feel like this is the time, given all the stuff about the US. But all that is to say is that if there's a calling on your heart, you're curious about wanting to move abroad, it is possible. I started this journey, as you know, while I was in New Jersey, in my closet, recording the Blaxit Global podcast. And look how far it's taken me. Doing this afraid, doing this and building the plane as I'm flying it, right? So just know that you are guided, guarded, and protected always. So if this is something that's calling on your heart, follow your dreams. You only live once. So, with that, speaking of living the dream, and appreciate all the congrats. Thank you so much. Yes, and you can check out the live stream of Tavis with all of us on it. I shared it on my Instagram stories, and I'll link it in the description of this video for those of you who are watching the replay. But if you are on YouTube and you search Tavis Smiley Show, we were on the 3rd hour, the whole hour. So, yay! Yes. Oh, yes. And Elise was in the comments. So yeah, so we're going to segue a bit to talk about another topic that I am passionate about in terms of freedom, right? Liberating yourself from a toxic job. So last week we talked about psychological safety, and there's also a video that I did a few months ago about how corporate America is failing Black Americans that got a lot of views and a lot of discussion and a lot of, much to my surprise, people who were sharing their stories, horror stories about their work environments. And what's interesting to me is that we're all in different levels of education, parts of the world, industries, but yet there's that connects us, right? That we have been in, either currently are or have been in, a toxic job. So I thought this is a great topic. And who should be the person to tell us about how to free ourselves? None other than Dr. Kimani. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Krishan, and hello, everyone who's tuning in today.
Hey, hey, hey.
So excited to be
Even
here.
even before went live, there was already comments, Dr. Kimani. So before we dive into this discussion, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, indeed. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kimani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm based in Los Angeles. However, I'm from Chicago, and I am a toxic job survivor. I have a YouTube channel, Lifting Us We Climb Consulting Wellness Services, where I focus on helping Black women leave and heal from toxic jobs. The healing really happens after you leave because it's hard to heal in an environment that's continuing to beat you down. So I am channeling my inner Harriet to help as many Black women as I can to leave toxic jobs, go to that North Star, and find our freedom.
I love that. I love that. So obvious question. When
Mhm.
you were in that toxic work environment, was this mission that you now are devoting your energy to, was that like in the forefront or in the recesses? Or was it once you got out of that and got on your healing journey, is that
Mm.
what like popped up for you?
Yeah, well, when I was there, I was there's so many signs when you're in a toxic job, it's time to go. But many times
Mm,
as Black women, we don't pay attention to signs because we talked about this earlier, Krishan, that our social programming is that we keep going. That's how all jobs are. Just wait till you retire, all that garbage. And so it was harming me seriously. And I was in therapy, and my therapist was
mm,
like, girl, this job is going to kill you. You need to do something, right? And
mm,
so I took a leave of absence. And while I was on the leave of absence, I was like, I cannot go back to this place. I cannot go back. And so as I was on that leave for a year, I started exit planning. And then as I started exit planning, I started talking about my experience because again, this was not part of the plan in terms of talking about this issue with other Black women. This is not a part of the plan at all. I'm a very private person. People don't believe me, but I'm serious. I'm a very private person. But part of what was happening at that job was that they were trying to silence me. And so part of my healing was I
mm,
was going to talk about it. I was going to talk about what was happening to me. And I noticed that the more I talked about it, the more Black women reached out to me and said, oh my God, are you in my head? This is happening to me. Oh my God, keep talking about this. And so the more I did this, and it wasn't easy at first, right? So I was in
mm,
Stephanie Perry's YouTube challenge, right? It wasn't easy at first. And in fact, Stephanie was the one who said, you got something with there. Black women toxic jobs,
mm.
you should talk about that, right? So I want to thank you, Stephanie, for saying that and
Yeah.
encouraging me. And so again, the more I started talking, then more Black women reaching out for me. And then I started doing more things in terms of interviewing Black women and doing
Mm.
panels and things like that. So then it just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, and shout out to Stephanie. I see her in the comments. I mean, she has lifted so many of us up.
Yes. Yes,
You
she
know,
has.
she's been on the bullhorn, like, quit that job. They don't deserve you. You know,
No,
free
they don't.
yourself, move abroad, house sit, do the YouTube, right?
Create our own lives, right? And I think it's just
Exactly.
showing us that it doesn't have to be this way. And then
Yeah.
even seeing what you're doing with your life and Lacey and all these people, all these Black women are now
Hmm.
living a life on our own terms in a way that we never were allowed to do or allowed ourselves to do. And so I appreciate you having your platform and showing you're channeling your inner Harriet too to get people
Thank
out the
you.
US, right? In terms of
Yes.
liberation. Yes.
Yeah. For sure, for sure. And thank you for that. So, how would you or how should we think about like what defines a toxic job, a toxic workplace?
Yeah. So the definition is different for each person, but I would say
Mhm.
the main issue is when you're in a work environment that is causing you harm physically,
Mm,
psychologically, even spiritually, even questioning, God, why would you put me here? God, why is this happening to me? All these different things. And when you recognize that it's being toxic, you
mhm,
start having these symptoms, right? Dread waking up, dread driving to the job. I called it Sunday 5 o'clock blues. Sunday at five
mhm,
o'clock, I was miserable because I knew Monday I had to go back to that job, right? So paying attention, oh, I know you felt that, right? So paying attention
mhm,
to those signs. And also when you start self-gaslighting yourself, because a job is already gaslighting you, right? And so
mhm,
they get in your head, and then you start thinking, is there something wrong with me? Am I eh, right? And so then you start second guessing yourself. You start questioning your worth, all these other things. And what happens a lot of times, Krishan, I think it's Black women, we've been told, girl, don't let them run you out of there. That's a good job. Don't you do that. You just stick in there. You just, girl, you better just fight them. And so
yep,
then we think, oh, I'm not weak. I'm going to fight you. So then we fight them. But then who is losing? We are. We're
yes,
losing.
yes,
And what we see many times is that we get so wrapped up in that, that we lose sight of ourselves, we lose sight of
Mhm.
our freedom, our dreams, our joy.
Yes.
It sucks the life out of you. You're exhausted. And what we often see is that what happens at the job spills over to your personal life. So your family, your
Mm.
friends, other people are impacted by that because you're not your full self. Because
Yeah.
the job is sucking all the life out of you. And
Mhm.
so the hope is that people have good people around them to say, girl, what's going on? Girl, this is
Yeah.
not okay. Girl, you need to leave, right? And so
Yeah.
we need to pay attention to the signs. And when other
Mhm.
people care about us, tell us the truth.
Yeah, and there's so much to unpack there because, we were talking about it before we went live. I was in a toxic work environment, and there was shame, and it was all
Oh,
those things that
yes.
you said as well. But then there was also shame because depending on who you tell it to, right, that you're experiencing, you'll get oh, get back in there and fight.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, well, now I don't want to talk to anyone because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not even getting the validation and affirmation that I need to focus on myself. And
Yeah.
then sadly, like you said, on a Friday and dreaded Monday, and that's if you work a Monday through Friday, right? Some
Right.
of us work, odd shifts and things like that, or have
Mm-hmm.
to work overtime or multiple jobs just to string together and make ends meet. But even when you do have that 5 minutes, that quiet time, it's like, oh, there's, a litany of other things that you have to do. And, I remember feeling exhausted all
Yeah.
the time, just mentally exhausted because as you mentioned, this self-gaslighting, you get the gaslighting and micromanaging, and then you get the societal gaslighting that talks about like, oh, well, we're in this post-racial society. And so it feels like there's no way out
Yeah.
and that you can't quite, at least like I said, from my own experience, couldn't quite put the finger on it. And
Yeah.
I remember having insomnia. I
Mm.
had severe bloating. Subsequently, I wound up having surgery because I saw this like lump growing, but it was just like, oh, I don't have time to go to the doctor. I got this meeting. I got this. I got that. And so we just wind up on this perpetual, state where we, or at least like I, was ignoring the obvious signs.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so important for us as Black women to pay attention to those signs because now more research is coming out about Black women and the stress, and that Black women are now dying at earlier ages and we're developing cardiovascular disease earlier. So it really is a life or death situation. We've even seen Black women recently in high profile positions recently dying, right? And so
Mm,
it's a really serious issue. And I know Stephanie Perry talks about why wait until retirement to live your life? And coupled with that, you might not make it to retirement because of the stress of the job. And when you think about all the stress you're experiencing, just getting ready to go to the job. So now the job has dominated your whole life, right? So all the
mm,
stress, all the mental energy thinking about getting ready, the mental energy once you leave. And then when you're at the
mm.
job, a lot of us are masking. So we're masking all
Yes.
day, trying to hide, like, I really want to say this to this person, or I'm one step away from telling this person what I really think about
I'm
them.
gonna
So
cuss
we're
their ass out.
girl. So we're like masking all day, and it just wipes us out, right? And
Yeah.
so again, I think the other thing that I think keeps a lot of Black women in these toxic jobs, I hear this a lot, and I know this was the same for me, when people project their fears onto us. So when people
Woo.
project the fears of if you leave that good job with those good benefits, you're going to be homeless. Or if you leave
Yep.
that good job, I mean, what you going to do? What you going to do,
Yep.
right? So most Black
Mhm.
women that I've talked to have said the reason that I stay at this job that I absolutely hate, that I dread going to, that I cry on my way going to work and leaving
Mm.
work, it's because I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills. I don't know how I'm gonna replace
Yeah.
my income.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, how do we work around this? Because I don't want any Black women to be in a situation like that. So I have fully called on Krishan that I'm ushering in a movement, right? I'm ushering this movement for Black women leaving and healing toxic jobs. We deserve so much better than that.
Yes. Yes. Because it's all like scarcity mindset.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, so totally scarcity mindset. And sometimes it's crabs in a barrel, right? Misery loves company. I'd rather
That
have,
too.
you know, I see you drowning,
Yes.
right? Or treading water, right?
Yes.
It's like, I'd rather you be in it with me than to see you leave me, because at least we're in it together. We are right,
Right.
you know, but
Right.
not realizing that you both are drowning,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. And all skin folk and kinfolk, right? So I've done a number of videos about
Ooh,
that on my
yes,
YouTube channel about just in terms of internalized oppression. And
yes.
sometimes it's particularly for Black women when we do this to each other, how
Mm-hmm.
extremely painful that is when someone
Ooh,
who looks like us is stepping on each other's, they step on our neck, right? As we're
yep.
always down, or it's a sense of competition. And so
Yeah.
my mission is to talk about these issues that
Mhm.
many of us experience. Let's talk about it. Let's put it out in the open. Let's talk about how do we heal from this, because
Mm.
you're doing this because you're hurting. You're deeply insecure. You feel threatened. How do we talk about these things so it's less likely to happen?
Yeah, because you know, we talk about these structures of oppression and white supremacy, that it's like it reinforces this conditioning that there's only enough room for so many, right?
Yes.
And we come into office or whatever work environment, and if we're lucky, there's one person who has that's at that high level, even though there's like a sea of other people, right? And so it continues to reinforce that, whether it's
Yes.
stated or just observed.
Yes.
And it's really this deconditioning that needs to happen. And that's why conversations like this are so important, because that's how you realize that you're not alone, and that there is a way out, and that there's a way
Yeah.
forward.
Yes, the way forward. And that's another reason why I started my YouTube channel, was not only for my
Mhm.
own healing, and not being silenced, but I wanted Black women to see me. And I wanted Black women to see I'm a private Black woman, but I'm going to talk on YouTube about this because I
Yeah.
want you to see me healing. I want you to see
Mm.
that you can heal too. So that was the one thing. The other thing is that I wanted to model sisterhood. Okay, so I believe in sisterhood, and I wanted other Black women to see that model. I'm connecting to
Mhm.
all Black women around the world. Okay, I've had Black women from around the world. I reached out to you, right? So
Yes.
it's just, I reached out to Black women. I'm like, oh, let me reach out to her and see if she'll be a guest. You said yes to me, and then you invited me to your channel. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, let's do this. So when I think about the work that I'm doing, my hope is that I'm also supporting sisterhood,
Mhm.
and particularly a
Yeah.
renewed belief in sisterhood, because I know a lot of Black women have talked about, which is so
Yeah.
sad, having a distrust for other Black women because of negative
Mhm.
experiences they've had.
Mhm. And that's why knowing our history is so important, because
Yeah.
obviously many of us know it's a concerted effort to erase, whitewash our history, but these tropes, you know, all of these things have a historical context where
Yes,
it
they
was like
do.
splitting us, right?
Divide and
Divide and
conquer.
conquer. And
Yeah.
so when we keep doing this in our own environments and not fostering sisterhood, not, you know, being my sister's keeper, that all that does is give those other structures more strength to continue to
Absolutely.
oppress us, because we're worried about pointing the finger or at someone else rather than looking at the system in which we all live in and
Exactly.
shining a light on how messed up that is.
Yes, the bigger picture.
Yeah, for sure. And interestingly enough, you know, I saw this, and I'm sure you did as well, right? So back in the day, well, I mean, I don't smoke, but right, the Surgeon General had their warning, you know, that smoking is bad for you. Yet they still had these commercials and all this other stuff. And it wasn't until I did my first trip out of the U.S. and I went to Canada
Mm.
and realize that other countries don't use like flowery language when it comes to that stuff. It's like the US is like the Surgeon General says that smoking may cause cancer and blah, blah, blah. In Canada, it was like, these will kill you. Like point blank.
Right,
It is like
right.
rip the band-aid off, right? And
Yes.
so when I go to other countries, like they, you do this, you gonna die. Like it was very like straightforward. But interestingly enough, there was a Surgeon General warning by the current Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, that said, and I'm going to read it, that warning that working in disrespectful, uninclusive, overly competitive, unethical, and
Mhm.
or abusive environments is hazardous to your health. This is from the
Yep,
US Surgeon General.
yep, yep. Absolutely. And when you think about that, in addition to now we're starting to see, and I would say since George Floyd was murdered, we're starting to see
Mhm,
more understanding that we're not in a post-racial society, like we thought that anyway, but that issues of racism is a health issue too. And so the American Psychological Association, other groups have come out and talked about the impact that these external stressors have has on us. So when you think about
mhm.
racism, sexism,
Yeah.
toxic jobs, all of this stuff, right? And the impact that that has on us. There's something called weathering. And when you
Mm,
think about the stress that we're under, ongoing stress, it causes your organs to age. And so you might be a certain chronological age, but due to weathering, you might be much older because of the
yes.
stress. So stress can
Yes.
kill you for real.
Yes, because it's so I'm so glad you touched on that because I wanted to raise this because sometimes people, we keep moving the yardstick like, oh, when I hit this level or when I
Uh-huh.
get this amount of money or when I get this age, right? And then you
Yes.
get to that and then something happens as always it does, right? Because the only
Yes.
constant in life is change. Then you change the rules and it's like, oh no, but I need a little bit more of this, for some level of certainty and reassurance, like, oh, when I'm 50, when I'm 60. But to your point with weathering, right, and we're just talking about a toxic job, not just, but we're talking about toxic employment. It's also a larger system, which is, like you said, about the isms in which we exist in this microcosm in the US, that's also adding to the weathering that we're already facing. And so
Mhm.
you might be 50, 60, but you have the age of an 80-year-old, your body
Right.
does, because
Right.
of all the stress. What you're not seeing, you might look in the mirror and like, oh, I look good. But how many people have you seen in your peer group? I know I have that have
Mhm.
dropped dead.
Yeah. And that was another reason, Krishan, that I knew of
Oh, I
something was
lost your
going on.
audio, Dr. Kimani.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can
I
you hear
can.
me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
That was another reason why I knew I had to get out of that job because I started
Mm,
noticing Black women who are not that much older than me in terms of my age category were dying, like literally
mm,
dying. And I was like, what is going on here? Because there wasn't that many Black women who worked at the job. And then
mm-hmm.
to see people dying like that, and then they were developing like cancer, having
Yep.
strokes, heart attacks, all that stuff. And I was like, okay, God, I'm paying attention. I am
Mm-hmm.
paying attention. I got to get out of here. And so the thing that I want to say to the Black women, and I think we talked about this too, Krishan, is that I want Black women to know that they have options. You don't
Yes.
have to stay there. There are other ways for you to make money. You don't have to stay at a job that's killing you. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when that toxic job that I was at, like I said, I was having my own issues and a litany of health issues. I'm like, what is going on? And then it wasn't just me, another one, a person at my job, he wound up having a heart attack and he was young. He had a heart attack and then he had a heart attack and came back to work 2 days later. And I was just
No,
like,
oh my
yes,
gosh.
yes. Another
Wow.
woman had started having panic attacks. I was having panic attacks.
Mm,
Um, my manager, my direct manager, had a nervous breakdown and wound up going on leave.
wow.
It was just story. I mean, and then another one who was like notorious for those like middle of the night emails,
Oh my
and
God.
her body started to betray her, and she
Mm,
was younger than I, and
mm,
so that's when it was just like the alarm bell was really going off. Like, mm, this ain't right, y'all.
Right.
But
And I
to your
think,
point,
uh-huh.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, go on, go on, go on.
You had made a point earlier about silence, and I was
Yeah,
gonna say is that when I was fortunate enough that, I got selected, kind of hand raised to get let go, and I just wanted my money. But what I wanted to bring it back to being silenced is when you sign those severance agreements, right? It's like, oh, you agree, oh, no disparagement, no this, no that. And again, these things continue to perpetuate
yeah.
work conditions to exist.
Exactly. And that's exactly aligned with what I was going to say in terms of when we think about toxic jobs, it's not just like one or two people or things, it's the whole system is
Yeah.
toxic. And so that's why everybody in the system's getting sick because the toxicity is poison. So
Yes.
everybody's impacted. And even when you think about workplace bullies, so October is Bullying Prevention Month, right?
Mhm.
So I'm being very intentional talking about workplace bullying and so
Mhm.
when we think about workplace bullies, a lot of times the organization knows who the workplace bullies are, even though the workplace bully's behavior will undermine productivity, it will undermine people wanting to stay at the job, all these things. But that's another sign the job is toxic. If there are workplace bullies and nobody is holding these people accountable.
Yeah, yeah. In this job in particular, they had, I'll paraphrase, but they had like a no a-hole clause. And it was just like, so it was just like any of those like bully type behaviors. And I'm like, yo, all y'all got up in here is bully. How you
Look at
laughing at a
yourself,
company
right?
value and think I'm supposed to trust you? Like,
Right.
really?
Right. Right. You know, I think about James Baldwin, right? He said, I can't believe
Mm.
what you say because I see what you do. And I think
Yeah,
that's a lot for Black women, Black
yes,
people, and particularly
yeah,
Black women, is that we're in these work environments that say one thing and your behavior is totally opposite of that. And when you
yes.
show us who you are, like Dr. Maya Angelou, you show me who you are the first, I'm gonna pay attention. I'm gonna pay attention. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're seeing it now with, interestingly enough, in the interview with Tavis earlier today, I was listening to, the air that was playing, the commercials and things like that. And there was like a news story that was talking about, oh, the return to work wave, right? And you can
Okay.
tell like these things are planted in such a way to encourage a behavior. Certain articles I've been seeing lately, oh, how's this 80-year-old person been on their job for 50 years and what you can learn from that and blah, blah, blah. And so it was saying that at the height of the pandemic, it was about 38, 37 to 39% of remote jobs, people were remote. And they said now it's like in the teens and going down. And that's because employers are saying, oh, we need to return to site. We have to have company culture. We have to all this.
Agreed.
Well, if your company didn't go out of business
Exactly.
between 2020 and 2023, while
Mhm,
maybe a vast majority of your workforce was at home, like
mhm.
that's a total bunch of bullshit.
Exactly. And LinkedIn was talking, I think it was LinkedIn had an article about Black employees were thriving, right,
Yeah,
working from home because they didn't
yeah,
have to deal with the microaggressions and all that other garbage at the
yeah,
workplace because they were in the safety of their own homes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your interactions are very deliberate when you're remote. Like you know when you have a meeting and it's just that conversation that's time bound and then that's it. That's not you going to the restroom or going to get some food and somebody saying something or just those, sidebar interactions where
Even
oftentimes
those
those things.
looks, how they
Yeah,
look at you sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And another thing that I read that was interesting was in getting back to the weathering,
Mhm.
it's this other piece of article I've seen. It can take your body up to 22 months to heal from a toxic work environment. And
Oh,
I was just
ouch.
like, what?
Oh, ouch. You know, I
What?
would even say it's longer than that. I mean, I
Yeah,
haven't been gone. I resigned maybe a little over a year ago.
Mhm.
But when I talk to Black women, and I've interviewed Black women, and even when I interviewed Emery Archer, the anti-HR lady,
Yes.
she talked about she is still in recovery from a
Wow.
toxic job. And I
Yeah.
feel like every day I'm recovering. I'm better,
Yeah.
right? I'm able to talk about it. I'm better, but I'm still recovering. And there still might be some things that remind me of that place. And I still have to practice something that I think we don't talk about enough too, Krishan, is
Mhm.
practicing self-forgiveness. So self-forgiveness,
Ooh.
self-forgiveness that I stayed at that job that long, self-forgiveness that certain things happened to me and I didn't call people out, even though I know professionally I couldn't have done that, right? But
Mhm.
still kind of beat ourselves up. And so I still have to practice that because I'm like, why did you stay there that long? Why did you stay there that
Mm.
long and you knew that place was hurting you? So it's important for us to practice that self-forgiveness too.
I love that piece that you touched on because, I definitely have had those moments where I had to just be like, okay, like one, know your worth.
Hmm.
And that gets further and further when you're in it to
Yeah.
see that. And the forgiveness part, and I think the forgiveness part is challenging for all those reasons that we said before,
Yeah.
because of the gaslighting and all those things and the lack of support. One thing that I've noticed in all of the corporate environments that I've worked at was they would have these affinity groups, like black this and and always with the black ones, you have your senior leader sponsor, who's supposed to like give y'all money for pizza parties or whatever it is, bringing in speakers,
A pizza party.
right?
Uh-huh.
Woohoo, right? But it was always a white person who was the sponsor. So it's just like, how is this supposed to be a safe space?
And you know what? A lot of times these jobs just remind me so much. Like my dear friend Colette Elizabeth, Marissa Price talks about this too, that these jobs many times mirror plantations. It's like some kind of like similar flavor or dynamic. It's kind of like we control you, we own you, we can do whatever we want to you, and you better be grateful that you are
Yeah,
here. And if
yeah.
you're not grateful, then we're going to put you in your place. And I came up with this
Mhm,
term, Krishan, and I want to say to the audience, I hope this is not offensive to anyone. I'm just sharing in terms of what my experience was. And this word captures what the experience was for me. Okay. But it felt like psychological lynching. It felt like they had gotten
mm.
in my head, right? And they made me question myself, question my
Yeah.
worth, question all these things about me. So they messed me up in my head, right? And then they did things to humiliate me. So it was
Mm.
like, oh, I'm going to show you because you didn't stay in your place. I'm going to put you in your place. And not only am
Mhm.
I going to put you in your place, I want everybody to see you. I want
Yeah.
everybody to see you get put in your place because that will keep them in line too. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of us have this experience.
Oh, yeah, and that is the perfect term for it, even at, and for many people, that might be watching this live or in the replay and have a visceral reaction to that, it's supposed to elicit
Yeah, that's
because
how it
that's when you
felt.
realize and you replay and you're like, wait a minute, that's exactly sometimes we need a word to attach to the feeling that we're
Yeah,
feeling,
yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting. A couple of years ago, probably now like 10 years ago, I wrote this article. I had interviewed Valicia Butterfield Jones, and we were talking about the NBA. And, even when we look at these systems like field, entertainment and sports, look at football, predominantly black players. Look at the NBA, predominantly black players. And even I think the WNBA. But who owns
Exactly.
who
Who's
owns it?
benefiting from our labor? Again,
Yeah,
plantation, right? The
yeah,
exploitation of Black labor. Yes.
exactly. And so, when we talked about it a little bit on the segment earlier, Tavis raised this exploitation of, black talent and, almost like, oh, this black excellence is leaving us. But America doesn't own me. Right?
Right.
I am a citizen, right? And I'm grateful for the education that I got, but
Mm-hmm.
my parents made me,
Yes.
right? I am
Yes.
who I am. And as a free Black woman, I get to take myself wherever I want to be.
Yes.
And if the country in which I live in, whether it be America, Portugal, wherever, doesn't appreciate that or makes the environment so untenable that I have to seek refuge somewhere else, that is my right to do so
Absolutely.
so that I
Absolutely.
can flourish.
Yeah, and I think what's important is that you know that about yourself. You know that you're free. You know that your job doesn't define who you are. A job is what you
Mhm.
do, it's not who you are. But I think a lot of us we've been brainwashed and lied to that that is who we are. That is not who we are. That does not define our worth. And when we know, wait a minute, no, I know I have all these skills and talents and all these. I just don't need to be here. You are not
Yeah.
validating it. You don't see it and maybe you see it. I'm quoting like Bell Hooks. You see my greatness, you see my shine. And because you see that, you're trying even harder to dampen it out,
Mm.
right? So you
Ooh.
see it, but you're trying to destroy it. You're trying to extinguish it's too
Yes.
much, right? It
Yeah.
represents too much for you. It shines a light on your insecurities. So you're trying to
Mhm.
destroy me. But you're saying there's another way.
Yeah.
That's I'm not gonna play with you. There's another way.
Yeah. And if your shine is too much for them, blind them. Blind them.
Yes. Or shine your
Right.
light somewhere else.
Right. It's like, look, I'm not going to, I'm the, it was a quote, was, oh my gosh, where am I blinking? Bozema, St. John, had did this, I think it was Instagram a couple months ago. And she was like, I am the sun. And it was just like, and that was just like, again, like something that you can visualize. It was just like, you don't just, you don't put like a towel or something like over the sun. The sun is the sun,
I
right?
love
You
that.
can't
I
dim
love
the
that.
sun. And so it's just like be so bold, be so bright. And if they can't appreciate, blind them. And like you said, shine your light somewhere else.
And
And
that's a sign
so
that you don't belong there. You know what I'm saying? If people are
exactly.
trying to dampen your light and they don't appreciate you, that is not the place for you.
Yeah. And look, look, that might not be the right country for you, right?
Maybe not. Maybe not. You got
Right.
options.
Exactly. And that's why I love the podcast because it's through having these conversations that also, lifted me up during those 3 years that I was making, progress toward my Blaxit. But just hearing stories of people that left, different jobs under various circumstances, different parts of the world that they've, planted themselves either temporarily or permanently and are able to flourish, to give birth to different ideas. We heard on Tavis earlier with Blaxit, which is in Mexico City, and she was sharing how she was laid off, and then it allowed her to pursue a passion and interest, and she will be on next season for y'all that are
Awesome.
concerned. But it's important to realize that there's a way out. And so I know the topic of today was like, how do you unstick yourself, right? How do you get unstuck from a toxic work
Yeah.
job? But so what are some of the ways in which we can liberate ourselves?
Several ways. Number one is, I would say, I'm thinking about Octavia Rahim from Exodus Summit when she was
Yes.
talking about that we need to rest, pause, rest. And as Black women, we always tell ourselves we got to go, 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 right? And the invitation is number one to rest, pause, because when you pause, then you're able to listen to what is your soul saying to you about where you are and where your life is and where you're trying to go. So that's number one. Number
Yeah.
two is when you start recognizing this is not the life that I want for myself, this is
Yeah.
not what I work so hard for, then say to yourself, okay, so what do I need to, what would that look like? What needs to go?
Mm,
What is robbing me of my joy? What is harming me? What are the signs that I'm being harmed? Okay. The third thing is, okay, if I recognize this is happening, what do I need to do to get some reprieve, right? Because when you go into the job every day, all that we talked about before, you're getting beat down every day, beat down, beat down, beat down, right? So it's hard to get unstuck if you're still in that situation. If you could take a leave of absence, take a leave of absence. Okay. When you're on your leave, start thinking about, since we said money is usually the biggest issue that keeps Black women at a toxic job. Okay. So because of that, and because I realized that that was an issue for me, when I was on a leave, I worked with a Black woman financial psychologist who helped me get my money right so I can get a plan to get out, right? And so
Mhm.
now I partner with her and I'm going to do a master class with her called Get Your Money Right so you can get out of that toxic job. Okay. And this is for Black women. So this
I love it.
get your money right. Okay. So that's this next month, November 8th and 9th. We're going to talk about addressing the mindset issues you have about money. That's the biggest challenge, the mindset issue, addressing the fears you have about leaving, coming up with your financial plan. So actually leaving that masterclass with a financial plan based upon your timeline. Also, many of us have been in jobs for a while. We have retirement, some type of
Mhm.
retirement associated with it. We'll talk about different options in terms of rolling over your money. And then we'll
Mhm.
talk about, okay, how can you replace your money? How can you replace that income that you're getting from that job to something else? Okay. So that masterclass will be November 8th and 9th, and it's going to be 7 p.m., 7 to 8:30 p.m., 2 nights, okay, Eastern.
Ooh.
So it's 2 parts, 90 minutes. So we're going to have the Black woman financial psychologist, Dr. Roche Brown, who actually helped me get out. And like I
Oh
said,
my God.
she helped me get my money together. I had a lot of money issues. Okay. She helped
Mhm.
me get my money straight so that now I was like, you know what? What are all the ways I can help Black women get out? If you're stuck because of money stuff, then the masterclass is for you. Okay. Get your money straight so you can get out.
Yes. And I love the title, straight to the point.
Get your money
Right.
right.
And that's so
Get it
important
right.
because it's like when that situation happened with me, and it's still, and I was telling you before you went live, legendary. Um, I was just done, and I was waiting for my number to be called, and I was kind of like quietly, like hand raising, like please let me go. And I was in a meeting when I got the word, and I leapt up and I danced out of the room, and they were like, "What is wrong with this chick?" And I
I
was
am
like,
free.
"Eyes
I am free from this
free."
plantation. Yes, I'm free. I got my papers. I'm out of here. Right.
You know? And it was like, it was because I had gotten my money right. I had been saving, for my retirement. I had been saving
Mhm.
for my Blaxit. And I was just like, you know what? This job doesn't define me. They don't put your
No,
job title on your tombstone, right?
no. It's not on your
Nor
birth
your
certificate either.
obituary. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just like I said, this job, I could get another job. And sometimes,
Absolutely.
you feel like you're boxed in a corner. And, I was a single mom, had 2 kids to raise, and there were tough decisions. And, at earlier times when I had gotten laid off and I didn't have my money right, it was like, oh my gosh, then you have to do the, rejection of,
Mhm.
applying for 9 million jobs and then you're rejected. And it really, to me, started feeling like, well, I'm just looking for the best of the worst,
Oh,
right?
see, that's
Like,
why I don't
why not
want
bet
you
on
to
me?
end up in another one, another toxic job. Right.
Yeah,
You leave one and go to
exactly.
another one. I don't want that for you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so important for us to realize that you don't need to stay in that. And it was interesting earlier today, I had seen this clip. It was a reel and I shared it on my Instagram. And I don't know what show it was, but it was Kim Fields. And she was talking about, and definitely hit home with, this conditioning of Black excellence. And, when she was a kid, and, you're the one, you're like almost like you're the chosen one, you're the golden child, right? You're the one that's the National Honor Society, you're the one that, gets the good grades, you're the one that went to college, and then you're building this life. And that's why I always talk about living life by design, not by default, is that you
Hmm.
wind up one
I
day
like that.
waking up and realizing and questioning, how did I get here?
Yes.
how did I get here? Like you keep going to school and getting more certifications and more degrees, thinking that that's going to be the solution. And a couple of years ago, that was me. I was about to go to law school again. I was going to go to law school. I wanted to go to law school when I was younger. And then I was like, oh, okay, I keep getting laid off. Maybe the solution is I need to go to law school. And it was just like, like what the hell?
Yeah, and let me add another what the hell, another layer of the mind F is that we've been taught, oh, you go to school, you get all these degrees, you do this, da, 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 right? And then you get this good job. What they don't tell you is that a lot of times when you do these things, you will many times experience such backlash and such
Mhm.
hostility, like the audacity that who do you think you are, right? So then you deal with that stuff. And then you
Yeah.
deal with the whole pet to threat, right? So pet to threat, three Black women researchers talked about
Yes.
this. So Dr. Juanita Johnson Bailey, Dr. Keisha Thomas, Dr. Rosemary Phelps, I always say their names because people steal their work and don't call their names. So I'm saying their names.
Mm.
And so pet to threat, many of us experience this. So Black
Yes.
women, we're caught into this situation that this organization is struggling, right? And they call,
Mhm.
oh, Krishan, we love Krishan. She's so smart. Oh my God, Krishan, we love you, right? Krishan comes in, Krishan is shining, Krishan does a great job. Then Krishan starts outshining other people and Krishan got to go, right?
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
like, there is like, no, who do you think you are? I'm gonna put you
Yeah.
in your place. And I think many of us, and I wish that somebody would have told me this before I went out to the working world, that backlash, that putting in your place, even when you do the so-called all the things you were supposed to do. And it can
Yes.
make you feel very disillusioned.
Mhm. Oh, for sure. And I can think, as you were saying, I could think of several instances where I was at work, the whole like, oh, we're gonna bring you on because you're a fresh thinker and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then the second you say something, and it's happened more than one environment, it was either you get leveled, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You're taken out of meetings all of a
Yes.
sudden,
Yes.
right? And then it's just like, so it's so insidious
Yes.
because it has you second guessing yourself, questioning, like
Mhm.
you were talking about earlier, the self-gaslighting. And interestingly enough, and just kind of building a bridge is like you were talking about, all of the things that happened in 2020, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and then all these corporations that were like, oh, we're gonna, put more people, in the C-suite, and we're gonna have these commitments, and we will do these black tiles, and yet there's this rollback, right, where they know, like you mentioned earlier, that Black remote workers were thriving because they were able to focus on their mental health or not be distracted by all of the isms that happen in the workplace.
Mhm.
But yet when you see that, we're drowning, it's just like, oh, if I were to say, oh, well, I don't want to go back to work because I'm comfortable here, it's like, oh, well, that's it, termination grounds for termination. So it's like you
Right.
really don't care
Oh, no, no, no.
about
No, no,
Black people,
no. No. My Spelman
right?
sister came up with a term, stop playing diversity. So a lot of what we've seen since 2020, a lot of performative DEI gestures. And that's why we're
Yeah.
seeing so many Black women leave DEI on their own and or
Mhm.
DEI programs are just cut. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, we did what we're supposed to do. Right. But
Yeah.
you've not made any structural, any policy changes, nothing really
None.
substantial, but you've done just the book clubs, right? Or you did a
Yes.
sign, or you did, oh, we
Yeah.
stand with Black employees, but you treat Black staff like the N word. You say you
Yeah.
stand with us, you treat us like the N word. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Hmm.
it's like, and for them, the benchmark is like, well, I didn't say that. So, right.
Right. I didn't say it. I mean, that's not what I meant. And this one drives me crazy. We got to take baby steps. Why do we have to take
Oh,
baby steps for us and we have to center the comfort of other people? What is that?
yes.
Yeah, again, that's another sign you don't need to be there. They
Yeah.
start talking that
Yeah.
craziness, you don't need to be there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, and all of the examples that we've been sharing is like, you've been able to relate to what I've said. I've been able to relate to, you said, I'm seeing the comments here, people are saying it too. And again, it's incumbent upon us to shine a light on what's going on, because you don't need to suffer in silence.
And there's a way out. There are ways out. There's not even just one way out. There are many ways out, and that you have options.
And Lori had said, I'm going to pull up her comment. That's why I retired at 55, walked away from a huge portion of my pension, decided my health was worth more than money, zero regrets. Yes.
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 Congratulations. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And then I'm going to go back. And then if anybody has any questions, put a Q before it so it makes it easier for me to find. Jess said remote workers put supervisors out of a job. Yeah, because the supervisors are acting like overseers.
Yes, they
right?
are. Yes, they are. Yes, they
Right?
are.
Oh, and Picky Girl, hey, Daly is in the
Hey,
comments.
Delia.
She said, I'd be shocked if we see DEI position 3 years from now. Facts.
Point taken. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially with, the election coming up, and, these minions, these 45 minions running around.
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me, because, even though, they keep talking about, oh, these are fringe. It's like, yeah, but the fringe is becoming more mainstream, and the fringe has a mouthpiece called Fox, and, and all of these things. And also these corporations, they are not standing with us. Like you said, performative DEI.
Yeah.
They're not standing with us. When all of the stuff that was going on in Florida, not one company is saying, oh, wow, we're not going to have, different activities there. We're going to put pressure on, the governor. Nope. We're not going to support all these people. And they say, oh, they send an email, oh, put your PAC money, take money from your paycheck and put it in a, political action. Why would I do that? So I can take the money that you're already underpaying me, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm going to take my money and give it to you. And I don't have any visibility for how you're going to invest my money and support a candidate who's in direct opposition to me and my values, but is in line with your values, because again, you get affirmed by the system. It's interesting.
Exactly.
I shared this article earlier about, actually it came from Delianne, the money coach. She saw it on CNBC, and it was Walmart and forget the other company, that the largest segment of workers that are on welfare.
Walmart. Yeah.
Walmart.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
like,
crazy.
wait, what? Walmart's
Yeah.
the biggest
That's crazy.
employer in the US, but
Mhm.
also it was them, and I can't remember the other company. But the fact that, and again, we're subsidizing it on both sides, right? Corporations are not paying their fair share of taxes, right? But they get no problem taking it off my check. I did the
Right.
work, but the company that paid me to do the work for them, and don't have to pay, but I got to pay, right?
Right.
And then we're also subsidizing it because those same tax dollars are then going to basically not completely fill a gap, because the workers aren't receiving a fair wage.
Yeah. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And the other thing is this is another gaslight that they do, is that they try to make us think that the bad people are these people on the fringe. Those are the bad people. However, the people who are so-called supposed to be on our side, they don't really do anything really for us. Like
No.
they kind of just give it lip service and say all the right things, but they really don't do that much for us in the first time. So it's a mind trick. It's a mind trick.
Oh yeah. Total mind trick. And that's where I feel like having this distance from the US and having that perspective, is just allowing me to say, oh, like, okay, now I can really see how messed up it was. Like, yeah, I extricated myself from that. Definitely continue to be on the healing journey. But having that physical distance as well. And with that physical distance, having more mental capacity
Mhm.
to give birth to creative endeavors or whatever. Like I have so many pictures in my phone of flowers because I walk by and I'm like, oh, look at that pretty flower. I never
Yes.
stopped to look at flowers before. Like I would just
You
be
were
like,
too
oh
busy just
God.
trying to live. Like,
Yes,
I'm just trying to just make it every day. What a
yes.
way to live.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember I would come home and I feel so bad because I know at some point my kids are gonna tell me about things, but I remember I would come home from work and I would just be mentally and physically exhausted, and I would just go into my
Yeah.
room and just, like, lay down for just a few minutes. I needed transition time, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I'm an introvert, so I needed, like, 20, 30 minutes of transition time because it was like, "Okay, I gotta shift into mom and doing all the
Yeah.
things," but it was
Yes.
just like it wasn't even like, okay, I could, take off this armor and then do what I have to do and feel lighter. It was
Yeah.
just like, okay, I just need time for a breather and then
Yeah.
get back to it. And that's not living.
It's not. And
Not
when you
living.
were talking about that, it just made me think also about you talk about taking off the armor, that we are experiencing psychological assaults every day. Just being in America, right? Just being
Mhm.
Black people in America, and then the psychological assaults at the job. And just think
Yes.
about how much psychological armoring we have to do every single day. That is exhausting. That is
Mhm.
exhausting. And it takes away from the people that we love. So I'm spending
Yes.
all my time and energy with these knuckleheads. Where's the energy for my family?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. You're robbed of those things, and that's assuming that you have an opportunity to, like, go and, like, I remember, like, my kids would perform and sometimes, I'd be able to, like, leave work or do something like that, but some people can't. They like, if you're
yeah,
doing shift work, if you're
yeah,
working in a hospital, if you're working for transportation or anything, we're talking about primarily in the corporate environment, but these conditions apply to pretty much every industry. And we're seeing,
absolutely.
thankfully, I will say there's one glimmer of hope in all this is that for a long period of time in this country, unions were kind of like dying off. And now we're seeing this resurgence of unions getting stronger, whether it be with, the Screen Actors Guild or walkouts, right? There was a recent one with, I think, Walgreens and some of the other what do you call it? Pharmaceutical pharmacies, walking out because of working conditions. Amazon starting to band together employees to start to do unions to get them stronger because there are unfair conditions. And again, the corporations have the backing of the government basically to continue to perpetuate what they do because it's all about dollar sign and
Yeah,
capitalism.
yeah,
And if you go down, we'll get another body in there before your obituary is posted.
exactly. Did you hear what happened to the interim president at Temple University? Did you hear what
Yeah.
happened to her? So she was going to a memorial service for a Black colleague. While she
Yeah.
was at the memorial service speaking for her Black
Yeah.
colleague, she collapsed. She ends up dying, and the
Yeah.
the thing keeps going, right? So it's just like, oh, okay, well, let's just keep going. So it
Yeah.
just shows you how expendable we are.
Yes, yes. And then in New Jersey, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver died. And that was a blip on the news and kept it
Wow.
moving, if anybody saw that.
Wow.
And then, I mean, even think about it. When Whitney Houston died, they still went with the party that same night.
Right.
Her body was
Right.
still up in the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Ooh.
And Clive Davis was like, let's keep this party started. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's
and
really
we've
how they think of us.
normalized it. We've
Mhm.
normalized it. And if that's for people who are, high, officials or in the public sphere,
Mhm.
what do you think they're gonna do to you?
Nothing, nothing. And it's so interesting. There's two quotes that I remember often. One, Dr. Nadia Lopez talks about why kill ourselves for jobs that would not mourn for us at our graves? And then and
Mm,
then Emery Archer, the anti-HR lady, says the job would not close her doors one day, or they
nope.
wouldn't have one moment of silence. You know what I'm saying? They would just keep going on if something happens to you. So why are we prioritizing them
Yes.
over our lives?
Yes. Because
Mm,
how many times, especially during the pandemic, how many times did we see protests or unfortunate incidents with other people that look like us getting cut down by the
mhm.
police and then going to work on Monday and putting on a face? Oh, how was your weekend? Oh, it was great.
Yep.
Or a mass shooting, like we were being targeted, Buffalo, the supermarket, all these things that happen, and you're just supposed to suppress that and bury that
Yeah.
and walk into work like, oh, no, it was great. Bob, how was
Yep.
your weekend?
Right.
And,
And talk to them as they
and
talk about their ski trip or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
yeah, exactly.
Do you know what's going on in the world? Yes.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
you talked about it. It's like between, the self-policing that we have to do to ourselves, we find ourselves doing, not have, find ourselves doing code
Well, no, no, no. I think
switching.
we have to because we
Mm,
recognize that we cannot show up as our true selves because
yes,
they will not tolerate that. So we do know that we have to do
yes,
that, which is
yes,
sad. Yes.
yeah. And the survival, the hair, right? Oh, like, okay, my hair is pulled back. Okay. And then I get braids. Oh my gosh, is that your hair? Yes, my hair grew 5 feet in the night. Like, I don't understand. And so it's like the cherry picking of, uh, in the sense that you won't promote us, or very few. You won't pay us. You'll
Mhm,
over police us,
mhm,
overwork us,
mhm,
overlook us,
mhm, mhm.
right? And then, which is the kicker for me, you have like a meeting or offsite or something, but got the nerve to have Beyonce playing in the background or some DJ. And I'm just like, hey, yeah, mother.
Right, right. We love Beyonce, right? It's just like, but you treat your employees like crap.
Exactly. But
Mhm.
when it comes to entertainment, oh, I'm not here to entertain.
Right, right,
I'm not here for that.
right.
Yeah, it's just and just feeling like, how much more of my life am I going to give to keep playing this dance that I don't want to dance anymore? I don't
Exactly.
want to dance anymore.
I
And I
don't
know
wanna
y'all
dance
don't want to
anymore.
dance either, because I'm seeing these comments are lit up.
Yeah, I don't wanna dance. I don't wanna play with you. Stop playing in my face. Stop lying in my
Yes,
face. I don't
yes,
want none of this. None of
yes,
this.
culture vultures.
Ooh, yes, absolutely.
Yes, that's what it amounts to. I'm just gonna go back up into the comments. Yeah, I mean, everybody, like, everything is resonating.
Hey,
Marissa
Marissa.
agreed. "You in the country from far away." Yes, yes. Marissa's in Mexico, right, Marissa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marissa's my outstanding virtual assistant. I love working with her. Thank you,
Yeah.
Marissa.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and just, our Black Utopia said the trauma gets passed down
Yes, it
because
does.
we do it, and we talk ourselves into it, or all the ways in which, if we're not able to language it and do it, might show up as drinking too much,
Self-medicating.
shopping,
Yep.
in all of
We
the
look
ways.
good, right?
Yes.
We look good going to work, right? We like got our hair together, our makeup together, our clothes, our shoes, our purse, right? But then you think about, wait a minute, okay, so what is this costing me? So now you're getting more in the financial hole, or a hole trying to look good so you feel good, but it's temporary. So all
Yes.
that is just, it's a mask. It's part of the mask.
Yeah, it's a cycle. I was reading this other article earlier today, and it said that the cost of remote, like the cost of going to the office, rather, is that remote workers are saving 50, on average, $51 a day by staying home versus their colleagues that are going into work because, you're getting the clothes, the transportation, ordering out, all of those things and parking, all of those things kind of add up.
Mm-hmm.
Gas. And it's like, okay, well, if employers are going to say, hey, you know what, you had the safety of being home, that's all right, but we need you in. Okay, so y'all going to run me my, at best, it's a little over $12,000 if you annualize it, but the tax man got to take his cut. So you going to pay me an extra 20 for
Right.
this? You want
No,
me
they're
to come
not.
back, but this is
Yeah.
you're paying to go to work. You're dressing up to go to work for somebody to continue to treat you like garbage.
Like garbage. Like garbage. And a lot of times these people treating you like garbage are doing that because they are so deeply insecure that you threaten that, right? So you threaten how they see themselves and they
Yes,
need to put you down so they feel better. Again, another sign you don't belong there. That's not the place
yes,
for you. Hmm.
yes. Reboom Room said, I'm not dressing up unless I'm getting a quote from my job."
I love that.
Yes. Yes, yes. Oh, so Lori said, when I decided to go natural, all my Black coworkers said they were going to wait until they retired because the corporate environment frowned upon natural hair. Wow,
Wow.
that hits home for me because I was thinking the same thing.
Wow.
I had when I had my daughter, I had locks, and then I cut them off, and I was natural for like 2-ish years while I was home with her. And then I went back to work, and I was like, I can't go into a corporate, like, actually, yeah, because I was going from working in politics to working into corporate America. And I remember getting my hair relaxed, and I just cried in the chair. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then when I said, okay, I'm just going to do this for whatever, another 15 years, 20 years. And
15.
then,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
then I was like, okay, and then I can go natural. And then I did it for a couple of years. And I remember it was about 20, I think I've been natural almost 8 years. And just getting to that point, it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna stop relaxing my hair. But then again, it was like, well, I'm not gonna do a big chop because I don't want to cause too much attention, right? Like all of these things is conversations with yourself to
Yeah.
get you through.
That's lying,
And
but we're lying to ourselves, right? You're lying to
yes,
yourself. And I think we lie to
yes,
ourselves to say, oh, well, it's not that bad, or I'll
yes,
just do this. We're lying to ourselves and we're showing that the job owns us, owns how we wear our hair. I mean,
yes.
yeah,
But I think one of the challenges too is that in America, your health care is tied to your employment. And
yes.
so, especially in that toxic environment that I was in, I remember a colleague, and he was Asian, and we were talking about. I was like, they were passing him up. I mean, we all was. It was
Mm,
a bad environment. And I was like, you got it. Like, why don't you just leave? And he's like, the health insurance is good, and we want to have another kid, and my
That's
wife
the
is a
that's the
teacher.
That's the other mind F, right?
Yes.
Because if you say to yourself, I'm staying here because of the benefits, but the job is
Mhm.
killing you. So you're going to the doctor more because of the
Yes.
stress from the job, then it's not good health benefits. It doesn't make any
No.
sense, right? So it's just
Yeah.
like, again, that's why I say it's important for us. It's the first thing to get unstuck. Pause. pause and think of what you're saying to yourself and really confront those lies. And you might need to go to therapy to help yourself with that, because sometimes when you're talking it out loud, I'm a therapist, we can hear what you're saying, like, wait, did you just say, right? So you need somebody to reality test with you, because a job that's killing you is never a good job. I think Stephanie said that. A job that's killing you is never a good job. A job
Mhm.
that makes you access your benefits, it's not a benefit to have the health benefits then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That is, I mean, whew, I know we could go on this topic.
Yes. And you know what's so sad too is that, you and I have had similar experience. We have never met, similar
No.
experiences, right?
Yes.
And I cannot tell you how many Black women have reached out to me, how many Black women I've interviewed, parallel experiences. And
Mm.
that is infuriating to me. And that
Yeah.
is what motivates me to get on YouTube. As private as I am, I will continue to get on YouTube and talk about it, because it is infuriating that that many of us around the world are having a similar issue. And that's why I want to say, no, 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 sis. We don't have to continue to live like this. There's another
Mhm.
way. I'm trying to show you it's another way. Look at what I'm saying to you. I'm trying to show you, and just be open to considering there's another way for us.
Absolutely. And I've said this before. I think I might have even said it last week. I said, different experiences, different ages, different education, the whole bit, parts of the world, industries, but yet we're all singing the same Negro spiritual. How? How,
Oh,
Sway? How?
oh, yes.
How? It doesn't even
Yes.
make sense. It doesn't even
And
make sense.
oh
And it's
God.
the
And,
system.
and Krishan, just think about that. That hit me when you said that, right? Just think about
Mhm.
what our ancestors had to go through for us to be here right now. To think
Yes.
about that, right? And to think about all they went through for us to deal with this? No, no. Okay. So I see it as I'm giving honor to our ancestors. The work I'm
Yes.
doing, I'm like, I'm giving honor to our ancestors, because this is not what they fought for.
No, no. And look, if you have that job, like Dr. Kimani was able to do, take a leave of absence. If you take a leave of absence, get in a therapy, use those benefits,
Yes.
because you have to fortify yourself. Looking
Yes.
for validation and affirmation from the system that is slowly killing you
Yep.
is not going to work, because all that's
No.
going to do is put a temporary bandage on a gaping wound.
Oh, yes. Yes. You're putting a band-aid on a gunshot. You are
Yes.
being you are being assaulted every day, right? And you're trying to lie to yourself to convince yourself to stay there, but for what reason? You have
Yeah.
another way out. You have other ways out. You don't have to stay there.
No, no, absolutely. Put the oxygen mask on yourself
Yes.
first.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
remember Harriet Tubman, right? We all have an inner
Mhm.
Harriet. Connect to your
Yes.
inner Harriet. Okay. Connect to her and see what your North Star is, right? So if you have some problems finding North Star, reach out to other people who can help you find that North Star and get out of there to your freedom.
Yes, for sure. And so I want to encourage, like, all of you that are watching live and also on the replay, subscribe to Dr. Kimani's YouTube channel. Dr. Kimani, you want to give the title again? It's already linked to the description, but please give it to
Yes.
them again.
Yes, so my YouTube channel is Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. So please subscribe. I have a
Yes.
live every Friday. I'm not every Friday, every Sunday, excuse me. Every Sunday, I have a live with other Black women talking about their experiences, their healing journeys. I provide resources about how to get out of that toxic job, because I want you to hear it not only from me, but from other Black women. And remember, I have a financial masterclass coming up for Black women. So get your money right so you can get out
Yeah.
that toxic job. Okay, it's a 2-day masterclass, November 8th and 9th. The information will be in the description section about how to register. The early bird registration goes until November 1st. So get your ticket. It's going to be virtual with
Awesome.
a
And I
Black
just
financial
dropped the link.
psychologist.
I just dropped the link again to those
Thank
of you who
you.
are watching live, and then I'll link it again in the description of this video. Definitely connect with Dr. Kimani, sign up for the masterclass, subscribe to her channel,
Yes,
because these conversations, I mean, that's when I get the most activity on this channel, honestly, outside of like moving abroad stuff, is when we talk about workplace environments. So if you're here, I'm glad that you're here, because again, this is helping to fortify you, but take it a step further, because I always talk about inspiration is great, but inspired action is even better. So take the step, subscribe to the channel, reach out to Dr. Kimani, sign up and attend the masterclass and get your money right, because
yes,
that will give you the liberation that you deserve.
absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you, Krishan. I appreciate the
Oh,
audience.
thank you.
And I'm so excited. I get fired up talking about this. I'm like, girl, no, there's another way, right? Because I just
Yeah.
want Black women to know. I just want you to know. And I want you to know too that I know how horrible it feels. I remember those days waking up and not wanting to get out of bed. I remember that like it was yesterday, right? And I just want something better for you. I want something
Yeah.
better. And I'm telling you, once you leave, Krishan, just like you taking pictures of flowers, Krishan, I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, God, you let me know what direction you want me to go in, and opportunities
Mm.
are coming my way that I never could have
Yeah.
imagined. Never.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
doing way better than I did at that job. Way better.
Yes. Way better. And that's the thing. It's like taking yourself out and getting that perspective, and then having space, leaving
Yes.
space for the
Yes.
blessings on blessings on blessings to come. So I
Absolutely.
see the comment is lighting up with thank yous. And again, I want to thank you for sharing your gifts and your message with us here. And, you know, like I said, thank you for everybody who's watching live as well as the replay. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe. I will be back next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Kimani. I know that a Black woman that is watching this has been affirmed and said, okay, you know what? I know that this job ain't the job for me,
Oh,
and that there's a way out.
yes.
So thank you.
That fills my heart. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and just thank you before I leave. I see, thank you for the super chat. I think thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Appreciate your support. All right, y'all. I'll see you next week.